Welcome to Magical Moments with Alena Chapman, the place for you to break free from the norm and celebrate your life, because what we believe in our hearts becomes our reality. This is Magical Moments with Alena Chapman.
Welcome to Magical Moments, and this is for the ease and the betterment in your life. We all so deserve that, and we also deserve to have a magical nugget that tells you all about the beauty. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay, so I know we're really into simplifying, minimalizing, making our lives easier, and that is good, and I'm all for it. Don't get me wrong on that. But, yesterday I was out and we were going so slow in the traffic. I mean, so incredibly slow. Like I'm talking 5 miles per hour at the max. And I'm sitting there looking out, and luckily there was a park, and I just kind of looked out at the trees and I thought, oh my gosh, they are so incredibly massive. And then I was watching how the wind was blowing through them. And then that sparked in me, okay, let's turn on some music instead of the rock or the pop that I was listening to, which kind of can create an anxiousness when you're going 5 miles per hour. And I turned on music that I love, music that is my type of music that I studied when I was growing up, the motets, the sacred music of history's past. And instead of feeling that twinge of let's get going, let's get going, in a possibility where I could not get going, I instead found myself enjoying my own bubble of beauty. I think sometimes we get so caught up in what is happening in the outside world that we miss the beauty. And yet it's the beauty of the music, the beauty of someone's smile, the beauty of the wind blowing through the trees, the beauty of the architecture of the old buildings and churches, the beauty of sometimes the chaos. Everybody's so busy doing everything, but at the same time, everything pulling together in a synchronicity. Sometimes we are so stuck in our problems and in what we think is a crisis that we can't open that to that. And yet, when you open to that, you actually find the solution to your problems. Mine was how not to be so angst about going 5 miles per hour down a Jefferson Boulevard, which is a main street. I had to stop and just take a look and breathe and enjoy the beauty. And do you know something? I fill my world with beauty. I fill my world with things I love. If you walk into my house, there are candles everywhere. There's flowers. I always have some kind of beauty around me. Don't you deserve that? Don't you deserve to be able to feel that calmness that beauty brings and that awe? Look around, even when you're living in very minimal materialism. It doesn't hurt to have one candle. It doesn't hurt to have one flower. It doesn't hurt to have one piece of artwork that every time you come in, you look at and it just makes you feel good. So take a look at your environment. What are you filling it with? Are you filling it with beauty? Are you filling it with angst? It's your choice. Okay, so today is an Ask Elena, folks. So now that we are looking at beauty, let's see. I have a few questions here that are very interesting. You guys, I am impressed with your questions. I really am. Okay, so right here, what is one thing, Elena, I can do to start to bring more joy into my life? That's very simple. And yet we find that so incredibly hard, don't we? When I was in the really tough time in my life, when things were coming at me in ways I could not even imagine, and I had to deal with all of them, I decided that I had had enough. And I decided that every day I would get up and say, what can I do that's fun? And I know I always say that to find your purpose, and I tell you how that's how I started writing my journaling, which started to write my book. But, there was just time when I first started just to have fun. That's what I did. And so no matter what it was, one time it was, I wanted to read a book that was out. And so when I got up that morning and I said, what am I going to do that's fun? It was to go get that book and start reading. And it was a day when it was a Saturday. And so when I got that book, I went and I got it. And then I sat down under a willow tree and I read. And it brought me such immense joy. When you pick something fun every day, it is something for you, something that just releases the tension, releases the judgment, releases the expectation, releases the world. And it's so important. Sometimes that fun might be going and grabbing an ice cream cone with a friend or a coffee with a friend. Maybe it's whatever it is. It doesn't have to be big. It could be a walk in the park that opens your eyes to the miraculous of nature or of people enjoying themselves, which makes you enjoy yourself more. But every day I would do something fun. I actually have to say, I don't think I would have made it through that time in my life if I hadn't taken my own initiative and said, I'm going to have fun every day. Because when you do that, it's honoring yourself. And that is one way that you can bring joy into your life. Second thing, I always say this, and I know all of us so-called people that you listen to on podcasts and everything else say this. I don't think we still get it. Gratitude, folks. Gratitude. Gratitude is the attitude changer. I actually have a little ebook that has that title. But it is. And so in the morning, on top of asking for something fun to do, write 5 things that you're grateful for. Make it something, a morning connection. Put on music. If you like music, have your favorite latte or cup of coffee when you do it. Nestle in. I don't know if you like a candle, light a candle, and set the environment to write these wonderful things that are the best things in your life right now. And really feel them. And you'll feel your vibration rise. And then look at your day right then and there. Look at your day on your phone or whatever and write out what you're going to do and think, how am I going to keep this vibration during this day? What am I going to do? What kind of fun thing? What kind of breaks? What kind of music am I going to listen to? Am I going to turn off that news? Am I going to leave on the news? What am I going to do to create the joy in my life that day? And you will find that you will definitely open your eyes to more joy. Those 2 things, one fun thing every day, and then the gratitude with the schedule, raising the vibration, then looking at the schedule. They have to work together, folks, okay? If you just look at your schedule, you're not in the correct vibration. You'll be like, kind of, I have to do this today. That's not the vibration you want to be in. You want to be in the vibration of, this feels good. I have so many blessings in my life. And then when you look at your schedule, then you're adding according to that perception you're coming from. Do you see? And I bet in 1 week, you will find your days changing so fast and your own perception. You might even start seeing some magic coming into your life, which I love. Those synchronicities, those like, did that really just happen? Those wonderful moments. So try that. And that is an awesome question, because we always talk about, getting the, I don't know, we look for the very deep meaning, but sometimes it's the simplest things that help us grow and to have that joy. So actually, you know me, I'm in those strategic baby steps. Everything is easy. It's just how you look at it. So thank you for that question. And there was no name on that. You guys can always leave your first name, by the way, because I like to hear them. All right. Second one. Oh, okay. This one is Elena. During this pandemic of the COVID, I've lost several loved ones. I'm so sorry. I really am. I'm numb with grief. What can I do? This just lays on my heart. Okay, well, yes. I know a lot of us have lost friends and family in this COVID epidemic. I know I have lost 2 friends. I know that it is, it's hard. Grief is hard. Grief is it's its own animal. And it's something that you have to work through. It is something that is yours. Grief is a funny thing. I don't suffer from very much grief. Isn't that I don't know if that's cold to say or not, but yet I always feel that every time someone has passed in my life, I always think I know that they're in a better place. And I almost think, why would I want to keep them here when they weren't happy or when they were suffering? But the COVID has hit so fast, and it's taken people who were pretty darn healthy and laid them to rest in sometimes what you think is too early. So that's a harder thing to understand. But I'll tell you, there are some things that will help you in your grief. Number one, understanding that they are not gone. If you can understand that loved ones are always around us, that the spirit world is so close to us, and it just takes opening up. And the second thing, and talking. You know what I mean? And actually talking to that person. I talk to my dad all the time. Do you know that? And I know he's there. And sometimes it brings me so much ease when things are not going right. They're just a step away. The second thing is to come to a higher understanding about the whole process and your place in it. Like, for instance, when I think of the walks my dad used to take me out into we'd walk in the hikes, we do hikes. And actually, gosh, he helped me get myself off a mountain when I was 10 years old, just by the things he taught me. He would always point out things and tell me which plants were poisonous. And he would tell me what, the moss grew on the north side of a tree so that you could get your bearings, to always watch for water if you're lost, and follow the water down the mountain, because where I lived were mountains. And there would always be a city or something along that line, because cities always and towns always followed water, which is true. And then what else did I learn? Gosh, everything. Learning how to I even knew the different footprints and things of animals, so that I would know whether there was that bobcat that was always around. You had to watch for that, and you had to watch for wolves, or you just had to watch for. So I learned all this. Now, when I think back to my dad and our walks, I just, instead of grieving, I just put them in the fondest place of my heart, that he will always be there. And I will always carry those memories as precious. So your grief will evolve. but you have to let it evolve, and it will wash over you in an ocean and then be gone. It does that. It just washes over you. When it does, you have those memories that you can love and you keep dear in your heart. You have the dialogue that you can have with that person. You can feel them on your shoulder. And you can know that they're at peace. It is a different kind of place that you are growing into. And at the rate that you're growing into is the rate you're growing into it. But know that's your goal and that's what you want. Grief is different for everyone. But you have to know where you're evolving to, and then you can work for that realization. I hope that helps you. Also, there's fabulous support groups out there. Just make sure the support group that you join isn't all bringing you down. And also your friends. Allow your friends to be with you for you. And you'll get past this. You really will. There's so much life out there. Okay? If you want to talk to me, you can always contact me at soulmanifesto.com. That was just an overview. I can help you more if you're interested, but give this a shot first and see how it does, okay? All right. Now, on to the third question. Okay. How do I know if I'm actually healing? Good question. I feel like I never know where I am unless I hit a trigger. All right. And this is from Lisa. Hi, Lisa. Okay. So a trigger is something that you get this trigger, something that you do. Maybe you are putting dishes in the dishwasher and wham, you get a trigger of a bad experience associated with that. And it blasts you back to the past, okay? And it gives you a sense of insecurity. It gives you that terrible sense of lack of self-worth, and maybe you're being yelled at or whatever it is. It flashes you back to that. So those are what we talk about when we talk about a trigger. And Lisa is asking, how do I know if I'm actually healing? And the only way she's gauging that is from the triggers. Okay. Now, that's an excellent question. Gosh, that could be 7 shows right there. But let's talk about the trigger first. Triggers are from past experiences. They linger for a very long time in a person. You can be healing, but the trigger is still present till you get to a certain point in the healing process. So Lisa, you probably are healing, but you just haven't gone to the place where you can control those triggers. It's funny. It's almost a retraining of the mind. And when you're healing in both sides, it's a twofold. You're healing because you're starting to forgive that person or that event or that environment or that situation or yourself. You're starting to forgive. And when you do that, you're doing personal growth. I highly recommend when you're ready and you're strong enough to do an observational meditation. What is an observational meditation? Observational meditation comes from actually Vernon Howard, 1969-73. He was a leader in self-improvement in California. He had a wonderful exercise of observation, and he actually used it to help people who had really highly critical minds, were very judgmental, okay? And you would go down the street and you would just observe yourself. So like if I was very critical on someone, I wouldn't judge myself for having that. I would just say, that's interesting. Why do I feel that way? Well, I want to change it. And you don't add any emotion to it. Okay, so an observational meditation, on the other hand, is where you take that observation into your meditation when you start to go back and look at the situation that you're not forgiving. Okay? So what I would do is I get very calm and I do my breathing and I get into that wonderful place, but I have the intention of doing an observational meditation. By the way, that's my own coin of that phrase, so you probably won't find it with a lot of other people. They'll say, "What are you talking about?" So anyway, then when you get to that place where you're nice and calm and your mind is free, then you say, okay, so this was the event. This is what happened between me and this person. I'm using that as an example. All right. Okay, so why did that happen? And you go back because this person did this to me. Okay, well, what did I do before that may or may not have caused that reaction? And when you find that out and you say, well, why did I do that reaction? And you go back, you keep working back, but you do not put any emotion on it. And it's amazing. The realization that you will come to is such a higher place where you will just say, how could it be any other way? And then you can forgive a lot easier because you have the highest perspective of understanding. It's one of the easiest ways to forgive. And if we could just realize that when things play out, they play out because of something before us, and that played out because of that played out. When you really look at it, you find that it can't end any other way because we are two people. And we're unfortunately very predictable. And so when we know a person, we can see why. Then all of a sudden we start to see, oh my gosh, that's the way they were thinking. No wonder they acted out in that way. Was their thinking correct? No. Can we fault them for that? If we want to, but it helps us to understand how things unfolded. And knowing that that person was thinking that way and you were thinking this way, how could it be any other way? And it allows you to just say, okay, I'm going to let it go. Now, when you say trigger is a little bit more serious. I start thinking more about abuse. I start thinking more about emotional abuse, physical abuse. That's a little bit harder. Still, you can do that observational. It'll help you understand why that person was so violent, but it'll also help you understand yourself and why you stayed. I've worked a lot with abused people. I worked in an organization called Right Relations for about 4 years in 3 or 4 counties in Indiana. And always it was going back and understanding why. And when you understood why, and you move past the anger, you got to go through the anger. When you move past the anger, then you're ready to forgive. And a lot of times it's a lot of forgiveness of ourselves. And that's where the observational meditation really, really helps. On top of doing the meditation, also start training the trigger. When you start having that trigger way before, you know, okay, every time I clean out the dishwasher, I'm going to get this trigger of him or her yelling at me, telling me I'm worthless. Okay, so how am I going to change that? Well, I'm going to train my body to not go there. This is a little bit harder. And I help people do this all the time. It's forming a new trigger. For instance, I'll use mine. I had to go into court 6 times, 7 times during my divorce. I hate court. I just don't like it. I don't like it. It's not fun. People are not always very nice. It's a heavy energy. I don't like it. And every time I went in, I feel my stomach just turn and I thought I'd be sick. But that doesn't help when you're on the stand. And when I was on the stand, they would make frickin' mincemeat out of me. And even though I was trying to protect my kids, they made me out to be something else every single time. So I said, this has got to stop. And so what I did was, not in the environment, but every stoplight I came to as I was driving my car, I practiced a trigger that when I went up on that stand, I would say, peace be still my heart. That was a phrase I chose. You can choose anything. You can just say love. You can say anything, but it was peace be still my heart, which would focus me on my heart, slowing down the beat. I would slow down my heart. My breathing would get more relaxed. My shoulders would drop. Everything would just relax. And I kept doing it every stoplight in the city until, no matter where I was, I could say, be still my heart, and my body would automatically go slack. You are forming a new trigger, but this one's a good trigger. So say you're doing the dishwasher. You practice this trigger. You practice this trigger. When you go to that dishwasher, then all of a sudden you say the word, your body relaxes. It doesn't go back to the memory. It goes into what you want it to do. It's retraining your mind. When I got up on the stand after doing that, I was so calm. I said, be still my heart, and everything relaxed. And I could see, for the first time in my life, I could see what was really going on. It wasn't the questions they were asking. It was the rolling of the eyes. It was the mean little gestures they would do when I was trying to speak that would throw me off. And once I learned that, because I was so calm, it didn't bother me anymore. Isn't that amazing? Learning a good trigger is one way to help fight those triggers, but it has to work in conjunction with you starting to forgive yourself. And that observation is one way. Other things you can do is starting to be good to yourself, even though you don't feel like it. You know, when you're out, maybe picking some flowers and putting them in a vase, just because. Or just take a little hour of your day and just saying, I am going to go walking in the park. I know there's 50,000 things I can do and my mind is full, but I'm going to go sit by the river today. These are the little things that's building self-worth. And again, you know, this is a long process like grief. And if you want a little extra help in any area, you know all you have to do is go to soulmanifesto.com. Excellent question. And oh my gosh, I wish you so well. And you are healing. Just give yourself patience. You're listening to Magical Moments, and I'm your host, Alena Chapman. And boy, we have got some deep, really wonderful questions, and I can see that people are really wanting these answers. So I will be right back with more.
You're listening to Magical Moments with Alena Chapman, helping you find your inner purpose. Learn more online at soulmanifesto.com.
Welcome back to Magical Moments. I'm your host, Alena Chapman. All right, the first half of Ask Elena was all our practical lives, okay? Now, I love some of the questions we have this segment. I love the ones in the first segment too. And by the way, I really do need to reiterate this. For those two questions, both of them, the grief and trying to get over an emotional turmoil and triggering and everything else, you know, because it's a radio show, I can only skim the top to really help you to go through the process. Contact me, folks. You know, it's very easy. Soulmanifesto.com, and there's a contact page, and we look at it every day and just say, hey, Elena, I heard you on your show. I'm the one that asked that question, so-and-so, whatever it is, and I would like to talk to you a little bit more. And I will set up an appointment right away, and we can talk on the phone. If you're in the area, I'll meet you for coffee. It's that simple. I am very accessible because that's why I do what I do. You know, that's why I'm here. So now this part of the show, folks, let's talk. This is from Dan. Hi, Dan. Sometimes you mention spirit animals. What is it? And how can I find out if I have one? Oh, perfect. All right. Well, Dan, yes, we all have spirit animals. And why wouldn't we? I mean, it's so funny. We have a whole little universe, and every spirit that is in the light, some people call it heaven, I call it in the light, everything is there cheering you on. It wants to see you experience and grow. We don't understand that when we're down here, and I'm getting on my soapbox, folks, so get ready. We are down here to experience things. And sometimes those things are good, but sometimes, and most likely, we are experiencing what we don't know. Now that's interesting, isn't it? Because when we're in the light, oh my gosh, it is this incredible feeling of being loved. It's an overwhelming feeling of being loved and joy and peace. So when we're down here, we're learning about things that we don't know. Well, guess what? We already know about the incredible love. So we might be learning down here, not about the incredible love. And we're learning how to go to make things into creation. We're really learning how to make our experience come into creation. We're learning how to find our way back to the light. But with every experience, this is very big, with every experience that we experience, gain a higher awareness, and let go of, but know it's part of us. That involves the forgiveness, that involves getting angry, that moving through it, forgiveness, letting go, surrendering, all of that. Then, oh my gosh, we help to actually evolve and grow the universal light. That's what we don't understand. Our lives matter so much because as our soul evolves, so does the light. Mass consciousness, it evolves even higher. So why wouldn't the light be here for us to help us on this journey? Now, and yes, those things can be angels, they can be archangels, they can be moms and dads and friends, and they can definitely be animals. I remember on top of my wonderful learning a trigger for court, I really remember also that's when I discovered my one power animal, spirit animal. Spirit animals will come and go. Everything will come and go when you need it. Okay? So this wonderful female lion spirit. And every time I was in court, I could just feel her come and be behind me. And I would just spiritually feel myself lean back into her and rely on her strength. Okay? And that's what she was. She was to help me have strength. She was to help me grab my own strength. She was there to let me know I wasn't alone. Now, each spirit animal might come in different ways. They always say okay, there's different ways that you can figure it out. Usually it's in meditation. It's on a journey. I take people on journeys all the time. That's how I learned my spirit animals. I actually learned it from a shaman who took us up into the zone where you would meet. And the first thing that came was my female lion. I also have a black leopard. I don't know why I have all the big cats. Don't ask me, but I love them. I also have a blue heron, and I have a little hedgehog right now, and a hawk. Okay, so those are the ones that are right now, but they change, and different ones will come in and different ones will leave, and each one brings a gift. And especially when you're trying, I still talk to my lion, my female lion, and I talk to my black leopard too. I think it's a leopard. It's all black. Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He's beautiful. And I do love to just talk and listen. And I learn incredible things from them. And I think, some people out there might be thinking this is just totally nuts. Okay, that's fine. But for those of us who want to open to it, there is a wealth of knowledge, of new awareness, of I don't know, just experiencing life differently. For one thing, just having Sheba there gave me an incredible strength. She also helped me to focus on the needs of my family, because something in me just said, protect the family, focus on protecting yourself and the family. And that was from her. And also the fortitude to have the strength to move forward in what other women that I know folded like flowers. They just folded right up. They didn't end up well. One actually committed herself. So, but my lion, she was there for me. Now, is that spirit form still with me? Yeah, she peeks in once in a while. So how do you find your spirit animals? Because they do have messages for you. They really do. And everything does. This is a funny thing. And it's in the New Testament, folks. The Bible? I know I talk about so many religions. I really need to be, in the New Testament of the Bible. It says, for those who truly see. The world will be revealed for those who truly see. Well, I don't think that means the tree on the corner. It's to really see. It's to open yourself up to everything. Everything. God and the universe is there helping us to really see who we really are. We are the image. We are made in the image of God. We are spiritual beings in human bodies. We are not human beings. And when you start to open up, you start to truly see that you have everything up there to help you. So, first thing to do is to get yourself in a journey. I do some of these journeys for people all the time. You can find someone in your area if you like, or you can look on Soul Manifesto. And again, just contact me and I'd be happy to take you on a journey. I'd get a group of you together. I know there's one person out there who wants to learn more about reincarnation. And yes, I am happy to help you with that. It's very easy, but it's just taking a journey and you get so relaxed and then they come into your life. And the things I learned, they help me move my life forward. When my blue heron comes into my meditations, I know right then and there, I am supposed to be striking. That means whatever I'm doing in my world, I need to get a move on, because that is timing. The blue heron is all about time. And he'll always say, you better get moving, Elena. And I know, oops, I better get going. I better get going and finish that book. Or I better get going and I better get that program going. When we open ourselves up to our soul, then I'll tell you what, then the universe will speak freely to us, because we have to ask. That's our free will right there. Our free will is we'll do it ourselves, or we will ask for connection. Let me put it this way. I have a perfect example. So here we go. I have 3 boys. My first boy, miraculous. He's just soaring. He's doing his dreams and he's going after it. And that's another story, and about taking a chance and seeing what happens. That's going to be another story. Now I have another son who, for whatever reason, and I love him dearly, and he is the smartest kid. He is so incredibly intelligent. But he always picks the hardest frickin' road that he can. He always picks the hardest road. In fact, I even had a discussion with him. And I said, why? Why are you picking the hardest road? The road you're picking for your life is going to be this step, this step, this step, this step, this step, this step. I mean, there are like 6 steps. And here, I am offering you this step to this step, your goal. But yet you're over here making it so hard. Now, I switch that to you. God is up there saying, hey, you're doing it so hard. You're picking the hardest road. Why are you going this way to this problem, to this problem? Why are you bouncing from here to here to here to here? When I'm offering you this step to this step, and you're home. So that's our free will. Just like my son has his free will, we have our free will with God. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, when we have the choice to open up and say, yes, there's more in that connection. I'll tell you, when I learned about my spirit animals, and when I go up into these meditations and I talk to my angels and I talk to my guides and I talk to even higher. I mean, I talk to Jesus. You think I'm probably nuts, but that's what I do. I'm a spiritual curator. When I do these meditations, it changes my life. But that's what I do for everyone. It's to help you connect. So open your eyes to that. And if you're willing, yes, do the meditations and the journeys to meet these powerful animals that are there. I'll tell you what, you will never look at an animal in nature the same way. All of a sudden, you'll have this profound respect. You'll know when that hawk soars over you 3 or 4 times, you'll get this reassurance in your body that, oh my gosh, I am surrounded with love from the Spirit. You know, these are nice things. These are things that take your day from mundane and pressure-filled and yelling at the person who is going so freaking slow on the road in front of you to, oh my gosh, I am surrounded by Spirit. I am surrounded with love. Do you see the difference? And it's your choice what world you want to live in. Okay, good luck in your journey. And if you really want me to help you, which I would love to help you, that's the fun stuff. If you want to learn more about your spiritual animals, please do, Dan, contact me at soulmanifesto.com and say, hey, Elena, I'm in. That's all you have to say. And give me an email or a phone number to contact you. And I will. And I will say, hey, let's talk. Let's talk. Let's get this together. Okay? I'd love to help with that. That's so fun. And anybody else out there, same thing. Now, we have another one. Oh, and this one, I love this question. Okay. Elena. I love it when you do that. Okay, Elena, any advice on how I can explain to my friends and family what spiritual growth is? Ha ha. That's an interesting question right there. I go to church each week and say my prayers, but then also focus on my spiritual awarenesses. My family looks at me funny when I try to explain. How would you describe it to them? Oh, wow, that's a good question, because that is what a lot of people who are starting to awaken to a new world. I don't like to just say awakened. That's so presumptuous, but awakened to a new world. Yes, when we try to explain it to the family, hon, I have always wondered how to bring it to my family's attention forever. I was a little girl that walked myself to church at 7 years old. I'd walk 3 blocks to go to church by myself. I was the little girl who was given that gift. And when I tried to tell the adults, they all said, that the angels had told me I had a gift. And when I told people, the priest said that I had an overactive imagination that needed to be tamed. My mother said, don't tell anyone, they'll think you're nuts. And it was shoved back to, this little girl just has a fanciful imagination. Don't listen to her. Okay? So I get what you're talking about. people are scared. We have diminished the so-called spiritual world, which is part of, we're spirits. I think that's so funny. And we have diminished it down to spooky and ghosty and ghosts we have to yell at or we have to feel, ooh. And we've just put it in this weird world when really it's us. I find it really weird. And I also find it really funny how we're so scared of it. Yet, we want this total connection with God. Well, I hate to tell you, it's hard to have either or. You get stuck in the dogmas instead of, I remember when my dad was passing on, he had Lou Gehrig's. And all of a sudden he found religion. I used to kid him. I said, hey, I used to walk myself alone to church. Now all of a sudden you're all religious on me. And we would laugh. But he said, when he got into it, he got into all the dogmas, all the rules and how to be a good Catholic. And I had to sit down with him at one point. I said, Dad, those are all man-made. That's not the light. I said, it's time to get connected to the light. God doesn't care if you've read 5,000 things. In fact, Jesus once said that Scripture is written, Scripture is dead, it's living, that is the Spirit. So what can you do to start bringing the real Spirit into it, growing into the Spirit? Now, so I got off the topic a little. But it's also to get you the feeling of where people are at when you're going to try and tell them about your own spiritual growth, which, by the way, yay. I mean, really, seriously, yay. I am so proud of you because it is a road that is your own personal road, but it is hard. People don't want to hear about it. First of all, there are plenty of people out there who are on a spiritual growth path. Find those places. Those are your friends. Those are the people that are going to lift you up. Those are the people that are going to help your growth even faster. Those are the people that are just fun to be around because they're going through the same thing as you. Okay? So you probably have a spiritual center somewhere close by to you. And look for one that is not just has all the spooky stuff, but is a real family. That's the one you want to be at. Okay? The second thing, when you're talking to your family, they won't understand because you're talking to people who have chosen not to be awake or have chosen to follow a different path. I'm not going to say one's better than the other. I always say you go your path, whatever brings you closer to God. And maybe it is the dogmas. Maybe it is that Sunday going to church, sitting there and hearing that sermon, and they take it to heart and they bring it home and they just really try to bring that goodness and that God into their everyday. And my gosh, that is spiritual growth. You're going just on a different route. And that is bringing you closer to God, bringing you closer to your guides, having you in complete connection. I don't think either road is wrong. You're going to get more of a heightened sensation when you go to church. When I go to church, oh my gosh, I fall in love. I do. When I used to teach in churches, I was a musical director in almost any religion you can think of. And when I went to church, that music would play and it would bring me up to God so fast. And I mean, I exuded it in everything. That's why people loved me having me as a music director, because I could feel that love and it would come through me to everything, into the music, into my choirs grew from 10 to 50, 35, 75, whatever, in weeks. Because I had that connection and it just made everything bloom. So as you are growing and you're going to church, This is your spiritual connection. It is not your parents. It is not your brothers. They have their own. And don't get into the place that you're spiritually growing and they are not. Everybody has to go at their own rate. And find the satisfaction in what you're experiencing. Your parents will get to a place where they start to understand. You'll start to wonder why you glow. How come things don't affect you the same way it affects them? But don't diminish what they're doing. It's so funny. When we go on our spiritual growth, why is it everything we think we're doing is better than what everybody else is doing? Please don't do that. It's your journey, okay? They may ask, and if they ask, you can tell them, and it'll freak them out, and there you go. But why even tell them? Why do the shock theory? This is your spiritual growth. This is what's going to help you connect to the best you can. This is what's going to change your whole life. And when they see that change, then they'll start to ask. My mom started asking why I don't ever worry, why all this stuff magically happens for me all the time. How can we'll be out to lunch and she will criticize and I'll say, your spirituality will come out in all sorts of ways. And I'll say, well, no, that person actually might be going through a really hard time. You got to have a little patience with them. Or I'll say something like that. And my mother says, oh, I knew you would say something like that. And instead of taking it as a criticism, just take it as your differences. Part of your spiritual growth is this higher awareness that everybody is perfect where they are right now. I don't have to change them. I don't have to make them understand anything. When they're ready, they'll come. Okay? So don't put that pressure on yourself. Allow yourself to just grow. Find that family. I remember when I was first getting back into my spirituality, because somehow when I got married, when that marriage was not so hot, and everything, I was put into a box. I allowed myself to be put into a box. I thought that's what was expected of me. But when I did that, all that heaviness, mundaneness, that closed offness, and before I knew it, my guidance went away. And when I was finding it back, I remember I was in a meditation class, and I remember that a friend behind me, I had said something, and I didn't understand. And everybody else in the class understood. So everybody laughed, of course. But really, everybody just stood with their mouth open. And my friend was behind me, and she laughed so hard she fell off her mat. And she became my friend and is my friend to this day. And we have such a good time. And we're both growing spiritually. I help her. She helps me. And then we found a center that is just absolutely fabulous, where I'm actually doing a class there. I'm doing the Green Terra on the 13th up at Catapatry. And if you're in the area, you might want to come up. Green Terra is where we talk about higher spiritual concepts. Actually, one of the things I'm talking about is how to meditate to really get the full effect, or how to break out of that mundaneness in your life, and all these little things that can help to make your life ease and betterment and even growth. And if you're interested and you're in the Fort Wayne, Indiana area, come to Catapatry 6:00 next Thursday, which is the 14th. I think it's the 14th, okay, of October. But as for you, my dear, just concentrate on your growth. Keep it to you. Find a group that's really supportive and allow your family to observe. And I bet you once they start observing all the cool stuff that you start experiencing, then they'll ask questions, and then they're coming on their own path. Okay? Don't feel like you have to push anybody. It doesn't do any good to argue. You never win. Nobody wins. Okay? I hope that helps. If you have any more questions, again, go to soulmanifesto.com, put it in the contact, let me know which question you asked and what more you have to ask, okay? Love it. And congratulations on your own spiritual growth. Now, I have time for one more question, and it has to be a short one. Elena, in a past interview, you said it's important to set boundaries. What does that exactly mean, and how do you do it? Okay. Aha. Boundaries. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I see so many people set boundaries, and before you know it, they're sitting on an island all alone. They're singing all by myself. That is not the way to set boundaries. I find it so funny. All right, boundaries. Boundaries means you are, okay, perfect example. I had it this week. Boundaries is a twofold. It is starting to create a world that helps you in every way it can versus dragging you down. Okay? And there are people that help you, and there are people that drag you down. You have, for instance, I was learning that some people I was working with were dragging me down, frustrating me. I'd feel heavy afterwards. Those are the people that I am graciously and nicely just find myself not being around so much. Or I teach them how to help me. I teach them how to treat me. Now, I think what I'm going to do with this question, because we really do not have a whole lot of time, I'm going to table this and I'll do a YouTube video on it. So whoever asks this question, if you get on my YouTube, which is Alena Chapman, I'll have your answer in full in a video for you. Okay? Other than that, everyone, I have a wonderful program out there to get that inner calm. It's time to reclaim that inner calm. Let's put it this way. Without that inner calm, you are running from problem to problem. You are in a chaotic mess in your mind. You are too busy. You can't sleep. You wake up in the middle of the night with thoughts. Come on, you don't need to be there. So I have a 7-day program. It's to reset your inner calm. And it is 7 days of just a video, short video on what you can practice that day to bring the inner calm into your life. And that is at soulmanifesto.com. Just all I need is you to say you want it. When you get there, put in your email, and there we go. And you have it. It's a wonderful way to start off your day. And at 7 days, oh my gosh, you will feel so much more calm, and your head will finally be unclouded. All right. You have wonderful questions. I thank you so much for these questions. I just think it helps so many people when you ask questions, because you're not the only one having those questions. So send in more, and you can send them in to soulmanifesto.com on the contact page. Until then, live with spirit, because spirit is love. And when we celebrate that love, uncloud our minds, live with purity and love. We are spirit.
This has been Magical Moments with Elena, featuring Alena Chapman. If you missed an episode, download it now on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, CastBox, Deezer, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast platform. Learn more online at soulmanifesto.com.